Hello friends, hello my young learners. Welcome to the English class, and today we are going to discuss a story from your textbook Beehive, and it is from Unit 9, and the name of the story is The Bond of Love. This is towards the concluding part of your textbook. Now, before I tell you anything about The Bond of Love, the story that we are going to read, I would like all of you to just have a look at this. My dear children, do you observe something? In these pictures, you find a human being carrying a wild animal, a small girl playing with a pet rabbit, the polar bear taking care of her kids, a pussy cat with a parrot showing their friendship, father taking care of the child, playing with the child, and a grandfather playing with his grandson. Now in all these pictures you find something is common. Can you tell me, dear children, what is common? What is that thing which we find common in these pictures? I think all of you would agree with me that there is some kind of bonding. There is some kind of mutual understanding. And my dear children, it is not true that this kind of bonding can only take place between animals and human beings, or only between human beings. Such kind of bonding we have seen that it is found between human beings and the wild animals, between human beings and the pet animals. Even we find this kind of bonding in different relations, human relations. Do you agree with me or not? Yes, all of you will see that the kind of bonding all these creatures have, whether human beings or animals, it exists on this earth. And something that binds them is the love between them. We find that there is some kind of bonding. And what is that thing which binds them? I think it is love between them. It is the care that they show for each other. It is the compassion. It is the affection. It is the kind gesture that they are showing for each other. Yes, my dear children, that is what we are going to read in the story that we are having today. This story is about a sloth bear and how this sloth bear was so close to one of its masters that it becomes like a family member. And my dear children, this wonderful story has been written by Kenneth Anderson. So won't you like to know about the author? Yes, let us come to know about him. Kenneth Douglas Stewart Anderson was an India-born British writer, hunter, and nature enthusiast. He was born on 8 March 1910 in a place called Bolaram in Telangana. And he had a very good education. He studied in Bishop Cotton Boys High School and St. Joseph College, Bengaluru. The major subjects of his writings have been wildlife, big game hunting. These are his major subjects of writing. He has written several books, around 8 books and 60 short stories. 2 of the books I have mentioned here, The Tiger Roars and This is the Jungle, which were published in 1967 and 64 respectively. He died on 30th August 1974 in Bengaluru in Karnataka. Now, my dear children, before we start the story, let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought that there can be love and friendship between a human being and animals? Let us read this story this fascinating account of an orphaned sloth bear that was rescued by the author. Now, before you read about Sloth Bear and his story, won't you like to know about Sloth Bear? Sloth bear inhabit forested areas, the tropical rainforest of India and grasslands at lower elevations. They have a very shaggy hair and long muscles. Use their claws to dig. They use their claws to dig. They use their lips to form a tube which can go deep into the ground or into hard-to-reach areas like dead trees for their food. And their main food is termites. So this is basically about the physical feature of the sloth bear and the kind of place where they live, what kind of food they love. Now, are we going to read about a sloth bear who used to depend on termites, or we are going to read a wonderful story about such a different sloth bear, a baby sloth bear? Now, this story is about an emotional bonding between the author's wife and an orphaned sloth bear found by the author. Story goes like this. Here we have the characters in the story: Bruno, who is later called as Baba, the author and his wife, the veterinary doctor, the curator, and author's friends. I begin the story. I'll begin with Bruno, my wife's pet sloth bear. I got him for her by accident. 2 years ago, we were passing through the sugarcane fields near Mysore. People were driving away the wild pigs from the fields by shooting at them. Some were shot and some escaped. We thought that everything was over when suddenly a black sloth bear came out in the hot sun. And he came out panting in the hot sun. Now you see, some of the words are highlighted here, like the word bear and the word panting. My dear children, it is not a very difficult story to understand, but you have to understand one thing, that you are introduced to so many new words in this story, and for every word you are not only given the meaning but also the pronunciation of the word. So here itself, in the beginning itself, I am highlighting that these words are given in the bracket within the slants in their phonetic transcription. So my dear children, now it is time for you all to start working out on the pronunciation part using your dictionary, right? So we have seen normally the word B-E-A-R is pronounced as beer by some people, but it is not. B-E-E-R is beer. Here it is B-E-A-R. It is pronounced as bear, right? And the meaning is given to you. It's a large omnivorous animal. So what does it show? How the story begins? That the author mentions that where they were on one day and what they found. What happened there, right? Okay. Now I will not shoot a sloth bear wantonly. But unfortunately for the poor beast, one of my companions did not feel that way about it and promptly shot the bear on the spot. The narrator did not shoot, but his companion, his friend, had shot it. As we watched the fallen animal, we were surprised to see that the black fur on its back moved and left the prostrate body. He was lying on the ground and facing downward. Then we saw it was a baby bear that had been riding on its mother's back. When the sudden shot had killed her, the mother was killed. The little creature ran around its prostrate parent, making a pitiful noise. Definitely, the way the human babies, they always are so much attached to their mother or to their parents. Similarly, in the animals also we find. So once this baby bear finds the mother lying on the ground, the baby starts going and crying there, making some kind of pitiful noise. I ran up to it to attempt a capture. It scooted into the sugarcane field. Following it with my companions, I was at last able to grab it by the scruff of its neck while it snapped and tried to scratch me with its long hooked claws. You must have seen these bears, they have got very sharp, long claws, hooked claws. And this baby bear also had. So when the author was trying to catch hold of it, it wanted to escape. So to save itself, it started scratching. We put it in one of the gunny bags. Gunny bags is the kind of carry bags we had brought, and when I got back to Bangalore, I duly presented it to my wife. So this was a wonderful gift for author's wife. She was delighted. She at once put a colored ribbon around its neck, and after discovering the cub was a boy, she christened it Bruno. That means she named the baby bear as Bruno. Bruno soon took to drinking milk from a bottle. It was but a step further, and within a very few days he started eating and drinking everything else, and everything is the right word. For he ate porridge made from any ingredients, vegetables, fruits, nuts, meat, especially pork, curry and rice, regardless of condiments and chilies, bread, eggs, chocolates, sweets, pudding, ice cream, etc. So nothing was left. Everything was tried, and everything, whatever was prepared by the mother, the baby bear enjoyed. Bruno enjoyed. As for drink milk, tea, coffee, lime juice, aerated water, buttermilk, beer, alcoholic liquor, and in fact anything liquid, it all went down with relish. That means Bruno enjoyed whatever kind of liquid was served to him. The bear became very attached to our two Alsatian dogs and to all the children of the tenants living in our bungalow. Gradually, this baby bear got very close to not only the two Alsatian dogs, but also to the tenants, to the children of the tenants who were living in their bungalow. He was left quite free in his younger days and spent his time in playing, running into the kitchen and going to sleep in our beds. You can see, this is very clear from the story, that the baby bear, Bruno, became so friendly, so comfortable wherever others were going. He also accompanied, and it was accessible to Bruno. The entire house was accessible to Bruno. There was no restriction for him. One day an accident befell him. I put down poison, barium carbonate, to kill the rats and mice that had got into my library. Bruno entered the library, as he often did, and he ate some of the poison. Paralysis set in to the extent that he could not stand on his feet, but he dragged himself on his stumps to my wife, who called me. I guessed what had happened. Off I rushed in the car to the vet's residence. A case of poisoning. Tame bear? Barium carbonate? What to do? So you see the kind of panic. Everyone was worried in the home. The author's wife, because Bruno had consumed poison. Not knowingly, unknowingly. The author had put some poison, had spread some poison in the library to prevent the rats and the mice. But unknowingly, this innocent Bruno consumed it, and then it had immediately shown the effect. Out came his medical books. Whose medical books is talked about? It's the vet's medical books. And feverish reference to index began. What poison did you say, sir? Barium carbonate? Ah, yes. BA, barium, salts. Ah, barium carbonate. Symptoms? Paralysis. Treatment? Injections of. Just a minute, sir. So what is he doing here? You might have seen he is giving some pause. Yes, here we have to note one thing, that my dear children, we also do sometimes when we are trying to find out some word, some information from any of the resources. What do? We refer the index. After the index, we just refer to that particular page. Sometimes it is also given in the later part or as a footnote what it means. So these things are improving your reference skills. Now here we see that the veterinary doctor, he finally tried to find out what was the solution, what he had consumed. He referred to that first, then from that what symptoms would he show and what is the medication, what is the treatment for that. This is how he proceeded for the treatment. I'll bring my syringe and the medicines. A dash back to the car. Bruno still floundering about on his stumps, but clearly weakening rapidly. Some vomiting, heavy breathing, with heaving flanks and gaping mouth. You see, his condition was not good. He was breathing, he even vomited, he was breathing heavily, and he was very uncomfortable. So it was very scary for the author whether Bruno would survive or not. Hold him, everybody. In goes the hypodermic. Bruno squeals. 10 cc of the antidote enters his system without a drop being wasted. 10 minutes later, condition unchanged. Another 10 cc injected. 10 minutes later, breathing less stertorous. Bruno can move his arms and legs a little, although he cannot stand yet. 30 minutes later, Bruno gets up and has a great feed. He looks at us disdainfully, as much as to say, "What's barium carbonate to a big black bear like me?" Bruno is still eating. So you see, after the medication, after that was given to him, that injection was given to him, or you can say that hypodermic is nothing but the syringe. It was administered, that kind of medicine was administered. Then he started showing some changes, some positive changes. But at the same time, you would note that initially when 10 cc of the antidote was given, no sign, no improvement was there. Then he again was given 10 cc. Then little bit change. Then again after 30 minutes he started showing some kind of positive changes in his physical state. And it seemed as if he's challenging barium carbonate that what harm can you do to this black bear like me? Another time he found nearly 1 gallon of old engine oil, which I had drained from the sump of the stud baker and was keeping as a weapon against the inroads of termites. He promptly drank the lot, but it had no ill effects whatever. Now, the previous incident was not over, was not the final one. He again tried something. And what was it? He just consumed old engine oil. And fortunately, there was no ill effect. The months rolled on, and Bruno had grown many times the size he was when he came. He had equaled the Alsatians in height and had even outgrown them, but was just as sweet, just as mischievous, just as playful. And he was very fond of us all. Though Bruno was growing day by day, and he took the size of the Alsatian dogs there. But he was very friendly, was very playful, and everybody liked him. He was very mischievous too. And you can see what we read previously, that he had done 2 mischiefs. And these 2 mischiefs were really quite scary for author and his wife. They really got frightened because they could not know what is going to happen with him. Above all, he loved my wife, and she loved him too. Both of them had a very good bonding. She had changed his name from Bruno to Baba, a Hindustani word signifying small boy. And he could do a few tricks too. At the command Baba, wrestle, or Baba, box, he vigorously tackled anyone who came forward for a rough and tumble. So the moment author's wife would instruct him that Baba, wrestle, Baba, box, he would immediately show the action as if he was able to understand. Give him a stick and say, Baba, hold gun. And he pointed the stick at you. Ask him, Baba, where is baby? And he immediately produced and cradled. What does it mean? That all these things that author has mentioned, it shows that Bruno was also Baba, became so friendly, and all his actions were just so human. They were just like any other human baby, right? Give him a stick and say, Baba, hold gun, and he pointed the stick at you. Ask him, Baba, where is baby? And he immediately produced and cradled affectionately a stump of wood which he had carefully concealed in his straw bed. But because of the tenants' children, poor Bruno or Baba had to be kept chained most of the time. So we see that it was very difficult now for the author and his wife to really leave him free. So he had to be chained because he had grown in size, and it was quite a risk for the family to leave him alone because he can do some harm to the others, especially the tenants' children. Then my son and I advised my wife, and friends advised her too, to give Baba to the zoo at Mysore. Now it was time for the family to decide what to do. So initially, who did? It's the son and the author. They had discussed, and then they advised the author's wife, and even the friends also advised that now it is time for us to send Baba to zoo at Mysore. He was getting too big to keep at home. Now it was, of course, it is a wild animal. So it had acquired such a shape, such a size, that it was quite risky. It was quite dangerous for everyone to be there with him at home. After some weeks of such advice, she at last consented. Finally, she agreed to send him to the zoo. Hastily, and before she could change her mind, a letter was written to the curator of the zoo. Did he want a tame bear for his collection? He replied, yes. The zoo sent a cage from Mysore in a lorry, a distance of 87 miles, and Baba was packed off. So finally, we find that it was time for Baba to leave Bengaluru and to go to the zoo of Mysore. And the reason was that it had started becoming a risk, or it was dangerous for the persons, for the family members, for the neighbors, for the friends to be there with Bruno. and it was chained. Fine, there was no problem in that. But still, it was very risky for them to keep it. So they decided. And even author's wife must have thought about it seriously, and she finally agreed. But there was a question. They had put a question to the curator, the caretaker, the manager, that will they take the tame bear? So they said, yes, we will take. And they had sent a cage from Mysore in a lorry, and Baba was packed off. So this was the first part of the story. This is the first part of the story. And after reading the first part, we will be trying out some questions here. You see the questions? Given below are some headings. Find the relevant paragraph in the text to match the headings. I have given you some headings. For each paragraph, we have read about 13 paragraphs, right? So what you need to do, for each paragraph, you just think what should be the heading. Like what is the key idea of each paragraph. And out of those 13 paragraphs, I have just picked up some paragraphs for you with the heading. You have to try out. Like an orphaned cup, it is discussed in paragraph 1. Bruno's food chart, you can just refer to that paragraph where it is mentioned what all things he used to have. Then accidental case of poisoning, yes, when he had consumed barium carbonate. In that paragraph you will get. Then playful Baba, how he became so close, so friendly, so playful. Then advice to send Bruno to zoo in Mysore. Then a surprise gift for wife and welcome of the new guest. Don't think that this is in a particular order. No, these are all jumbled and you will not find a particular sequence in that. It's not that it starts with 1, so it will continue with 2, 3 and all. No, it is all jumbled. So you just try out and you see, you match it with your answer. For the first one, it is given paragraph 1. For the second, it is mentioned in paragraph 6. Paragraph 8 discusses about the accidental case of poisoning. Then paragraph 12 discusses about playful Baba. Paragraph 13 discusses about the advice, and paragraph 5 discusses about the surprise gift for the wife. Right? So this is how you have to try. Whenever you are reading a story, just jot down what is the key idea in each paragraph. That helps you in better understanding. Here there are some questions for you just to see whether you have understood the story up to the part that we have read. Read the extract from the story and answer the questions that follow. First, I got him for her by accident. I got him for her by accident. You see, I, him, her. So who says this? It is the author who said this. Who do him and her refer to? Him refers to the baby bear and her refers to the author's wife. What is the incident referred to here? The incident refers to the catching of the baby bear. Now, my dear children, you have to understand here, why have I given you the answers here? Just to show you that for such questions, your answer should be within a sentence or two. Sometimes just a word would be sufficient to answer these questions. And this is very important. This is reference to context questions and you have to understand, don't go for paragraph writing, just be to the point. So for the next question, reference to context question, I have not given you the answer, assuming that you will follow my instruction and you will be able to do it. The second extract that is given, one day an accident befell him. Which accident is referred here? Who is him referred here? And what was the outcome of this accident? For the first part, for the first bit, which accident is referred here? You just have to mention what had happened. Nothing more than that. These are normally 1-mark questions. So you have to be to the point. Just write whatever is required. Don't go beyond that. Don't write anything extra. Then question number 2. This is to be answered as a short answer type question in 30 to 40 words. Answer the questions. First one, who was Bruno and where was he found? So you can see Bruno. Who was he? Bruno was an orphaned baby sloth bear. And where was he found? He was found in the jungle when author and his friends had gone for his normal visit to the jungle, right? What were the 2 mischiefs that Bruno did? You can write what were the 2 incidents. How did Bruno become a part of the author's family? Again, a very interesting question. How Bruno became part of the author's family. How mother treated, how author's wife treated him so as to make Bruno so comfortable and become a part of the family. You have to write about it. Read the story once again and find out the answers for all these questions. I have just given you the hints. Now let us talk something about the language. Find these words in the lesson. They all have IE or EI in them. You see, these words with blanks, all these words are actually there in the story. 2 words are highlighted here, heights and peace. Now here you have to see that why this question has been asked. You will come across several words where there is a combination of EI and IE. And sometimes we get confused whether to put IE or EI. For example, receive. Many a times we have seen there is a confusion. These words also appear in the story up to the portion that you have read. Just refer to the paragraphs from 1 to 13. You will find all these words. And you see that how the placement of IE and EI has been done. But one thing, just note here, the word heights and peace. Heights is HEIGHTS and peace is PIECE. Note the difference. The hint is hidden here. Now you have some more words which are not from the story, but they are just collected, and you have to consult a dictionary and write down the spellings of these words. In fact, you have to write down whether it should be IE or EI. If you see the first question, I think might have got the correct one, field. The first one is field. Second is ignored or ingredients. I think it is ingredients, right. The third one is given heights, then mischievous, then friends, then relieved, then peace. Now we have to see that what is the rule here. There is an interesting rule here. And what is that rule? Can you note here that the word peace, there is C before E, right? There is C before E and another E before C. So you see now IE followed by C and EI followed by G. That means the rule is, there is a popular rule of spelling I before E except after C. Check if this rule is true by looking at the words above. You have to, this is a simple rule, but you see whether this rule is applicable everywhere or not. You have to consult a dictionary and find out. So with this, we come to the end of the part 1. Thank you, children.